Hello, gentle marketers. Welcome to episode 57 of the Gentle Business Revolution podcast, the show where we talk about marketing your business by disrupting the current marketing paradigm and changing it to a gentler approach, one that's based on empathy and kindness. I'm Sarah Sinacroce, I'm the host here, and you know that you're in the right place if you are a heart-centered entrepreneur or change maker who is looking for a better way to market your business. Or you might also be a marketing impact pioneer, so someone that's working for an organization who does business for good. Today's episode falls under the P of partnership. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I organized this podcast around the 7 Ps of gentle marketing, and you can download the Gentle Marketing Mandala with those 7 Ps at sarahsinacroce.com/one page, the number 1 page. So today I'm delighted to talk to Alice Southern, who invited me a few months ago to her giveaway. I then reached out to her and asked if she'd be willing to share her experience here in all transparency. So kind of like behind the scenes of putting together such a giveaway or a summit, or I used to organize a LinkedIn challenge. So whatever you call it, it's basically an event that you put together with other people. So therefore, partners. So Alice Southern is a life coach for introverts and the founder of the Introvert Library. After experiencing burnout herself, she came to believe that playing by mainstream society rules can often be a recipe for disaster for sensitive introverts, and decided to rebuild her life on her own terms. She now works with sensitive introverts who want to find ways to step into their power, embrace the gifts that their introversion brings, and find ways to create lives in which they can truly thrive. During our conversation, we talked about her biggest takeaways from organizing a giveaway with others, how she created the team of experts, how she also created a win-win-win situation for everyone involved. So win for her partners, win for the clients, the participants who signed up for the giveaway, and of course a win for herself. How she followed her intuition and went against industry standards that kind of come with these events, and many more insights that will help you get behind the scenes of organizing such an event. I truly hope you enjoy this conversation with Alice Southern. Hi, Alice. So good to speak to you. How are you?
It's great to be talking to you.
Yeah, likewise. I'm so happy we got to connect. It was a bit challenging. We just discussed that offline, right? Because you actually had coronavirus together with your wife and your small... How old is he? 18 months, you said.
Yeah. So I have an 18-month-old son and a wife who works in a hospital. And so 2020 has been a bit of a wild ride for us. And I got ill back in April, and my energy levels are still not quite what they were, but I am grateful for the level of health that I have now.
Yeah, I'm glad that we got to connect. And it's funny, when I did the prep for this episode, you know, I don't know if that happens to you as well, but I feel like everything that is pre-coronavirus, it feels like it's like a year ago or maybe 2 years ago.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, when did she do that introvert giveaway again? It must have been last year. Oh my gosh, it was this year, just before lockdown. So it's funny how...
It was actually, so I ran the introvert giveaway back for Introverts Week in March, and it was the week that coronavirus lockdown kind of started here in the UK.
Wow.
And so it was the exact moment that my world changed. And so that was really part of the experience of running it for me.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about that. And maybe we can kind of start by defining what a giveaway is and just kind of how it works, because not everybody might have been participating in one yet.
Yeah, so, and you feel free to add to this if I forget something, but I would say that a giveaway is when a group of people who have similar missions, similar audiences, similar values come together and each offer a free gift and promote that giveaway to their audiences, so that they can collaborate together and make connections with new people.
Right, exactly.
And if you'd add anything to that general definition?
No, I think that's it. It could be, so in your case, it's a giveaway, meaning you actually, you get access to resources that you download, or maybe it's a course or things like that. Sometimes what I used to do in the past is these LinkedIn challenges. So same idea, you get together a group of experts and then you have a daily, I used to have a daily LinkedIn tip. And then in my case, I had also kind of the kickoff call and the grand finale, where all the experts got together in a Zoom call and we had kind of this webinar. So there's different variations, of course, of the same thing. And sometimes you also see them being called summits. So in the end, it's the same thing, except that maybe for giveaway, it's more, it's not so much webinar oriented and more content oriented. Would you agree with that?
The event that I ran in March was very much around getting free resources. It didn't have any live element to that. And that was a deliberate decision for the March event that I can perhaps talk about a little bit later.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was what I ran back in March. And I was reaching out to people whose businesses I'd been following for a while, whose missions I really believed in, and who were also working to support introverts and gentle souls in general.
Yeah. So you reached out to me, and we kind of had this conversation via email because I had previous experiences with this kind of giveaways or summits, and we'll get into that. But I want to first kind of ask you what, in general. I mean, yes, it was not ideal timing, probably. It was challenging times. But what for you is the biggest takeaway from that experience? Was it a positive experience for you, or
I would say that overall it was a very positive experience for me. I think the biggest takeaway that I got from it was actually how much I love having an excuse to reach out to other people who are running similar businesses.
I love that.
I was, because I've been running the Introvert Library for 2 or 3 years now, and I've been doing it mostly on my own. And I'd set the intention of making 2020 my year for collaboration and connection, and I'd experimented with a couple of different partnership projects, and so the giveaway was kind of part of that experiment to see what it is that I most enjoy offering. And really what I learned was that the bit that I enjoy most is the connections that I've made with other business owners, and having the excuse to reach out to people and say, and to have something to offer, right? Just feel like I'm bringing, rather than just saying, hi, I like what you're doing, let's chat, which has its place, but being able to say, this is something that I'm running that I think might be of interest to you. It kind of gave me a little bit more bravery, I think, for reaching out to people, because it's scary to send that first email. At least it is for me. And so having the reason to do it helped me to see just how much I enjoy building those connections, actually.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's true for, many entrepreneurs in general, but especially introverts. It's scary, as you say, to reach out and ask for something, where here you're actually offering something. You're, offering to be a participant and be positioned as some kind of expert. And so that is a much easier yes as well from the other person.
Right. And I think I've really benefited from that too, because I've deliberately structured my business to be entirely online, and I love that. But it can also be a bit lonely and feel like there's a disconnect between my real life work, my real life where I meet physical people, and my work life, which is entirely online. And so now I feel like I have this growing community of other people who are doing similar work and have similar values to me. And I've really appreciated that.
Yeah, and I agree. It's for me. It's so, as I said, I started with the LinkedIn challenge, and that was happening then as well. And now it's the podcast. So same idea, right? Reaching out to people, offering to have them on my podcast, and from there the exchange really starts to happen. And if we resonate, because we have these 30 minutes to an hour together, then from there it can grow into something much bigger. So
Yeah.
I would say it's similar to a giveaway. So in terms of like, the doing stuff, because I know from experience it's a lot of work to set up these kind of things. What, in your opinion, went well and what didn't go so well?
So I would say overall the experience was definitely a positive one for me. I got the new connections with the business owners that I wanted. I got the new people on my email list that I wanted. And the feedback that I've received from participants has also been very positive. And so I think overall I definitely say that it was an experience that I benefited from. I think the things that didn't go so well were mostly to do with that weird timing that we talked about earlier, because it was just when coronavirus hit. And so it was the week that I lost my childcare, the dog walking that I depended on, because I have a very active dog and I also have a chronic illness. And so there's a lot of support structures that help me to do what it is that I do. And they all disappeared that week. And so it was a stressful experience for me to continue to keep the promises that I had made to promote the event in the way that I'd said I would, to provide the template texts and things that I'd said I would. It became a little bit of a stressful experience that it didn't necessarily need to have been if the world had been different.
Yeah.
And so, I'd say those were the main things that, and especially because it was the first time I'd run a giveaway. I think if it would have been the second time I'd run it, then I might have felt a little bit more prepared or comfortable and able to deal with things that maybe didn't quite go ideally to plan. But I think because it was a new experience for me as well, there was that little bit of extra pressure.
Were there a lot of things that you needed to take care of during that week, or was most of it already set up and ready? So it was more like the community engagement that you needed to take care of?
So I'd created all of the web pages for it in advance, and I had created some. So part of the offer was that I was making was that I would create template emails and social media posts and things like that to make it easy for the participants to promote the event. And I would love to say that I had created all of those in advance, but the truth is that I hadn't. And so I'd created some of them, but the other ones had to be done that week. And I was also, there were some of the participants were also new to participating in a giveaway as well. And so they were bringing questions about how this worked. And so there was a little bit of back and forth as well about that. And then, things like Instagram, I don't use a scheduler for. And so they needed to be posted manually each day. And so it wasn't a huge amount of work. And in an ordinary week, it would have been completely fine to do all of that as I was going along. I just didn't know that it wasn't going to turn out to be an ordinary week at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like you would have been on top of it if it wasn't for losing all the support with childcare and everything. Maybe we can just kind of go for the listeners who have never created a giveaway or a summit, because you talked about there's basically two groups, right? There's the participants, those who come in, sign up, leave their email, and get the free resources, and then there's, can't remember how you refer to them. I refer to them sometimes as the experts. So the people that you reach out to and say, hey, would you give your free resource in exchange for then also sharing the event with your audience? So I think that's why there these events are quite a bit of work. Maybe you can go into explaining a bit about the promotional side. So what needs to be done to promote the event just in general to maybe your audience and social media, and what needs to be done to, help your experts to also promote it to their lists.
Right. Sure. So for my promotion, I decided that I was going to email my list 3 times per day and post on social media once or twice per day. Sorry, email 3 times over the week and post on social media 1 or 2 times per day.
Right.
And so I had to create all of that content. Now, I also provided templates for the experts to promote it as well. And so I provided, I think it was 3 or 4 template emails to all of the experts, and several social media posts. I can't actually remember how many. I provided template, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn posts and tweets as well. And so that was, I would say, the bulk of the work was creating those templates. And obviously there's some overlap. The emails that I used, certain phrases or paragraphs or things I could reuse in the template emails, but that didn't always work. Sometimes you had to change things.
Yeah. And then you had to also set up affiliate links. So each expert had his own affiliate link. And so there's probably questions from new experts. Well, how does that work? And how will I... Yeah, maybe you can just explain how it works.
So I don't know how technical you want me to get, but I used WooCommerce to create the affiliate links and Pretty Links to create the trackable links. There was 2 different things that were running so I offered all of the experts an affiliate link so that if any of the people who they referred to me went on to purchase any of the digital products I offer, then there would be an affiliate commission for that. But I also tracked the links because I was running prizes as part of the giveaway.
Right. So
there was a prize for the expert who referred the most new audiences, what's the word I'm looking for? Participants to
subscribers.
me. Subscribers, that's the word. And then there was also a prize for the gift, the freebie gift that was the most popular during the giveaway, the one that most people signed up for. And so I had to monitor all of those tracking links as well.
It might sound overwhelming for someone who's hearing this for the first time, and still you're saying all of this, the tech part actually went down really smoothly, if I hear you right.
Yeah,
so that wasn't the issue,
part,
right?
Yes. Yeah. There were some queries that I needed to iron out, but for the most part, there was one tracking link that just refused to work, and so it wasn't completely perfect, but it mostly went smoothly. It was the first giveaway that I'd done, but it wasn't the first partnership project that I'd done. So I'd also, back on World Introvert Day in January, I'd run what I called an unparty, where I brought together expert speakers for a 6-hour live stream. And so there had been affiliate and tracking links that I'd used for that. So I'd got some of the tech set up for that back in January.
Okay.
And so I wasn't setting all of that up for the first time. So that helped.
Yeah. It feels like it's like orchestrating in a way a big project, right? Because there's the tech part that you need to pay attention to, then there's the people part, so the experts. What I felt like there was always 1 or 2 people who didn't hand in the things that they needed to hand in time, and you had to run after them. So there's the people part, and then there's the community part, which is your participants and questions from there. You didn't have the live aspect to it, but there was probably still emails that needed to be responded to.
Absolutely. I think that's the joy and the challenge of collaboration, right? It's the human connections that make it worthwhile. Yeah. And it's sometimes also the human connections that require the work, right? Because yes. We're all human and we all have lots of things going on, and sometimes we miss an email, or sometimes we just forget to do something, and that's just what happens. But it is, I think the orchestrating is quite a good work because there are quite a lot of moving parts to a project like this.
That's it. Yeah. I remember when you reached out to me and we kind of had an exchange about my previous experience. I told you that I kind of didn't like the industry standards that seem to be out there regarding these events, and that I had decided that I no longer want to send out 3 emails. And we had a very open exchange, and you said, yeah, that's fine with me. Just send it out once. I think I included it in my weekly newsletter and maybe posted it on social media. But what do you? What has gone through your head when I came with that request, and what did that, like, do you regret changing it and going only to 1 email for the experts, or is there a certain way that you realized, okay, maybe things have changed, maybe there is a different way that I can get experts to participate without requiring it in the official requirements?
Yeah, no, I mean, I absolutely didn't regret making the change. I think when we had that exchange, so I'm going to back up a little bit more. So I said before that this was my first time running a giveaway. Yeah. So all I had to go on was kind of the industry standards, I suppose. I researched several different other giveaways to see, how much did they charge for their participation fee? How much did they require experts to promote the event? And I researched the industry standards and I discussed them with the coach who I was working with. Mm-hmm. And I was aware when I did it that the industry standards did not feel good to me. Right. And so I had already reduced the participation fee and the promotional requirements from what I could see was the standard. Uh-huh. So I'd already done that. And then I had the exchange with you, and there was a little bit of me that when you first said it, I did feel a little bit defensive, because I was like, well, I've already done this. Right. But it only lasted for probably about 30 seconds. And then I was like, no, actually, Sarah's right. And I know this. And that's why I'd already tweaked things. And in some ways, you gave me the little push to be that bit braver and do what I actually already knew was right. Mm-hmm. And so I know that when it comes to the people who are on my email list, I really value the relationship that I have with them. I know for myself that my email inbox is a very crowded place, and I only want emails in there that really bring me value. Mm-hmm. And so I try to be that to the people who I email. So why would I expect other people to do something that I wouldn't be comfortable doing myself? And so I reduced the promotional requirements down to only 1 email per week. And I think it was 1 social media post as well. And what I did was I still provided the same amount of template emails and posts as I said I would. Mm-hmm. And I know that some of the experts did promote more than just what the minimum was, and others didn't. And I trusted them to do what they felt was right for their audience. Yeah. And overall, it probably did mean that we got fewer signups than we would have. And I'm okay with that, because it's about relationship, and it's about the relationship that I have with the other experts as much as it is the relationship that I have with the audiences that we're sharing. And so, yeah, I was really grateful to you for saying that. So thank you.
Yeah. It's so interesting that to hear that journey, because that's really also the journey that I had to go through when when I kept getting invited to be on these things, and it just didn't feel good to, send out 3 messages, because it feels like pushing this event onto someone, where if I just send it once or twice, then it's more like an invitation. But since I'm also since I'm also an affiliate, it felt more like, oh, this is just about me, and about getting as many signups to this event so I can get more affiliate money out of it. And so if I really listened to myself and thought, well, how am I being of service to my audience, then it's mentioning the event for sure, but not mentioning it over and over again.
I think it's a really tricky issue with all kinds of partnerships and all kinds of promotion, right? I went through a similar journey when it came to reaching out to other experts who I wanted to participate in the giveaway.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I reached out, the first email is scary, but when they don't reply and you have to make the decision as to whether to send a second email, that's even scarier in some ways, right?
The follow-up email, yes.
And it's tricky because on the one hand, I know that I'm really busy and sometimes I don't reply to the first email, and I really appreciate it when people send a follow-up email and kind of give me the message that they value me enough to follow up and to know that I am a busy person who has lots of different demands on her time, and that they're okay with that. And so it's finding a way to do that follow-up in a way that is understanding and compassionate rather than pushy.
Yeah.
And I think the follow-up is important, but it can be really pushy. And so the thing for me with the promotional requirements for experts in the giveaway, the decision I finally came to was that I wanted to be able to empower people to make the best decision for their audiences themselves and to trust them to do it. So for my audience, I did choose to send those 3 emails.
Of course.
And I felt like that was right. And I think that there were some experts who also felt that that was right. Mm-hmm. But if they didn't feel that that was right, I didn't want to make that the requirement for participating. I'd much rather trust you to make your own decisions about what's right for you. Yeah,
that's so well put. I think it's so much about that, because we're at different stages in our business as well, and you don't know that maybe I have sent out too many emails in the past, and now my audience is kind of like edgy, and they're like, oh no, there's Sarah again with her 3 emails. So we don't know all of this, and so making it a requirement is kind of pushing it too far. So
and I think it's also, it's lots of different levels of trust, because the thing with a partnership is that it only works if everybody promotes it to some extent, right? Mm-hmm. And if there's somebody who maybe doesn't promote it as much, then it can feel that maybe they're getting a free ride if other people promote it.
Right.
And so that's why people set these requirements. But actually, that's not trusting. If I'm only reaching out to people who I actually think are coming at their business from a values-driven place, that if I'm only reaching out to people whose mission I agree with, then I need to trust them. And I need to trust that the people who do work like that aren't the people who are going to try and take advantage of other people's work.
I totally agree. And I think it has so much to do with, also only getting invited to events where there is already an alignment. Because that's what starts happening if you're kind of, surrounded by people who have the same values. You're no longer attracting events where it's all just about the money, I think. And so that's where this trust just innately starts to happen, because you see the world the same way, you have the same values. And so there is much more willingness to, help each other. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
One thing that you said you had seen that in your research when you researched previous other people's events was the contribution from the experts. So the financial contribution, kind of like this is an event that gets you publicity. So that's why I'm kind of charging a small amount to help me with all the work behind putting this event together. That I must admit I hadn't seen that before, and it was new to me. And I thought, well done, I mean, knowing all the work that goes into such an event, I'm like, oh, I'm perfectly happy to pay the $25 for this, because you do get, signups. You do get, you were sharing the event and were sharing my interview and all of this. So it just seems so normal today to see this fee. However, I think back in the days, 10 years ago, people might have been like really surprised that someone is asking for a fee. So I'm just curious if you got any pushback from others who didn't understand this concept.
No, I didn't actually. So as you say, I charged a $25 contribution fee. Some giveaways charge much more. And I got some feedback from people who said, this is a great idea to charge the fee. And no one actually said that they were choosing not to participate because of the fee. I mean, there were people who said that they didn't want to participate and who didn't necessarily say why, and that's fine. I'm a big believer that no is a complete sentence. And so maybe financial reasons may have been a part of the decision for those people, but nobody actually said that. I think for me, the tension around charging the fee or not was mostly internal. It was, around me trying to find what feels good for me as to, what feels like enough of a fee to justify the amount of work that I'm putting into this, and versus feeling like I'm, not delivering enough to justify the fee. So how do I set that balance was a decision that I agonized over, if I'm completely honest, for a long time. And I set up a web page where I outlined all of the details about the giveaway for potential experts, so they could see everything that I was offering and why I was doing this. And I wrote that page pretty easily. Like, I was quite clear about the mission of the giveaway and why I was doing this and what I wanted to achieve with it. And the thing that held me up was I changed that figure on the contribution fee so many times before I felt able to actually send it. And now I feel like I got the balance right. I feel like $25 was the right amount, but it was a difficult decision to come to.
I can imagine. I would have felt exactly the same, because here it's an ask again, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's always harder. But yeah, just to tell you from my side, it felt really good to pay that amount, because I sometimes also felt that if I'm an expert and I'm sharing something, in this case, I didn't even do a webinar, right? Like it didn't even participate with my time. I just participated with one of my resources. So I always felt like on other summits or something, I'm like, what if I'm not bringing enough new people? What if I'm not sharing enough? And given the fact that I didn't want to overshare, I was like, what if I'm not doing my part? And so in a way, it's like paying you for your work. Well, at least I covered that, right? A tiny portion. And then, everything else is bonus, but I don't have to feel so bad. And maybe that's just my empathy thing. But yeah, it felt good to me to pay that amount. And yes, 25, I think up to 50 would have been like, I would have paid 45 as well. But yeah, it's a tricky one, because you're like, well, how far can I go without asking for too much? And so
that's really good to hear it from your point of view as well. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think I would definitely recommend doing that again. So yeah, that's the question. Will you run it again?
So I think I definitely will run it again. Whether I will run it again in 2021, I'm not currently sure. I'm considering it. I think I enjoyed doing it, and I feel like the fact that it wasn't a time limited thing was a real big plus for me, because, as I said, I have chronic illness. I'm juggling lots of different things. The more that I can make things non-time limited, the easier I find it to balance my energy. Mm. And given the fact that the world went topsy-turvy that week, if that had kind of real-time elements to it, then I wouldn't have been able to deliver it at all.
Yeah.
And so I think the structure definitely works for me, and I would love to run it again. But I'm also somebody who tends to overcommit. And as we said at the beginning, 2020 has been a tough year, and I have some other projects that I really want to prioritize offering before I run another giveaway. Mm-hmm. And so I'm trying to work as hard as I can to get the things in place for this next project that I really want to offer, without trying to push myself too hard when we're in a global pandemic. So we'll kind of have to wait and see how I get on with some of these other projects before I make a final decision as to whether I'll do it next year or not.
Yeah, I think that is very smart to kind of, first look at your energy and then decide, well, is this something that can fit in right now or not? Sometimes people ask us, when is, like, I ran the LinkedIn challenge every year. And so it became almost an obligation to do it. And people would ask me, when's your LinkedIn challenge? And every year I enjoyed it a bit less, until I finally said, okay, this is no longer my priority and what I want to do. So I think it's important to pay attention to that and not make it into a should, because that's when it becomes less fun, when it's
absolutely.
A should, right?
I mean, I'm a big believer in banishing all of the shoulds, but I think for me, my tension is I have so many things that I want to do, and I don't have enough time and energy to do all of the things that I want to do. And so how to prioritize the things that are absolutely the most exciting thing I could be working on it's really hard, actually, if I'm honest. I grieve a lot for the things that I want to do and don't have the time and energy to do.
Yeah.
But that's what it is.
Yeah. Having older kids, I can tell you that there is a time for everything. And I remember when the kids were small, it was like such a juggle and such a, I felt a lot like you, like frustrated sometimes that I didn't have more time to, build these things and create these things. And yet now looking back, I'm like, well, it was another time. It was the time to spend more time with the kids. And now they don't even want to hang out with me anymore.
Yeah, that is the tension, isn't it? It's like, how much of my time and energy do I put into me and the things that light me up and make me feel alive? And how much time and energy do I put into the joy of spending time with a little one, because they're only little once, and I don't want to miss that either.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's always a balancing act.
Thank you so much for sharing this with us, Alice. It has been very insightful and gentle. And I love what you're up to. I would love for you to share where people can find you and connect with you to find out more.
Yeah, and it's been really good to talk to you, Sarah. Thank you for having this conversation. So the best place to find me is over on my website, which is theintrovertlibrary.com. And there's all sorts of goodies on there talking about how introverts can create lives in which they can thrive.
Awesome. Thank you so much. One last question. What are you grateful for today or this week, Alice?
So many things, but probably the top of my list right now is my health, because, as I've said, it has been very up and down year for my health. And so anytime I get out of bed and I don't feel awful, that is a good day. And so today is a good day, and I'm grateful for that.
Wonderful. I'm celebrating it with you. Thanks so much for coming on, Alice. Great pleasure.
Thank you.
I I hope you got some valuable insights from this. I definitely recommend creating something like this with others, some kind of event. The LinkedIn Challenge is really what helped me build my business, build my email list, and all of that. So highly recommended. And if you want to find out more about the Introvert Library, please visit Alice's site at theintrovertlibrary.com. And then tune back in this Wednesday for the final episode of the self-care series for tough times, where I chat with my friend and past client, Nicole Burgess, who's a licensed family therapist, about moving your body and other self-care strategies for tough times. And next Friday, I close this season with another book update. Remember to be the change that you want to see in this world. Speak soon.